Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chem 1211 with your host, me, Dr. White. Hi, everybody. All right, tonight I'll be going over a review for Quiz 1. And if we go to Blackboard and you hit this announcement on Blackboard, you can go back and read. And also, you should have gotten your an email with this. Make sure you check your email every day in this course. All right, on this Thursday, I'll be giving quiz number 1. And at that time, at 8 a.m. or earlier, I'll send out an email to each of you with the password that will open up quiz 1 PDF file, which will be available for you to download in the assignment area of Blackboard. You'll have until Friday, 8 p.m. to take quiz 1 and upload your answers to quiz 1, and this is important, as a single PDF file. I reserve the right to subtract 25 points anybody who's late or doesn't follow instructions, like a single PDF file. Quiz 1 has 3 pages, 9 problems, including 2 multiple choice. It's worth 50 points. Some of the problems are multiple part. It will cover chapter 1 and 2, along with the number of protons and electrons from the periodic table, along with the name and chemical symbols of key elements in the periodic table. Now, if you notice over here, and it's also in the syllabus, I have textbook chapter titles. In case you didn't buy the textbook, what material is this? And the key way is do the practice problems for those chapters. Now, if you don't have a printer, and some of you may not, or access to a printer, what you can do is open up the PDF file on your computer, cell phone, or tablet, and on a piece of blank paper, write the answers for each problem. You do not have to write out the questions. If you don't have a printer, I'll say it again. You don't have to write out the questions for quiz 1. This quiz 1, problem 1, or problem 1A, your answer. Make sure you put your name on it. And same thing for those of you who are printing out, put your name on there. And upload it as a single PDF file. If you don't have a scanner, like I have a scanner printer right there, by the way, that's a picture from my all-time favorite movie, Forbidden Planet. But anyways, if you don't have a scanner, as you've seen, and it'll be also in the quiz 1 assignment, there'll be a file telling about CAM scanner, and there'll also be a file, actually 2, one Word file, the other PDF, how to upload files to your either quiz or lab to Blackboard. All right, let's get into quiz number 1 review. Now, last time I taught it, the timing was different. It wasn't in the summer. And what I did was I had quiz 1 on a Tuesday and quiz 2 on a Thursday. So that's why I put both reviews together. This semester, I separated them by a week, but they're both in the same review. If you go to the lecture section of Blackboard, you will find a file, cleverly, actually 2, one either Word file or PDF, actually both, as Chem 1211 quizzes 1 and 2 review. And what you're going to see, you will be able to download this from Blackboard. All right, let's get started. First of all, I started talking about, and you should know about the 4 branches of chemistry. And you should know at least the name of one of the 4 branches of chemistry. They're organic, inorganic, physical, analytical. I'm an organic chemist, so organic chemistry is the best. but I'm biased and I'm honest about that. Next, I asked you to learn the following element's chemical symbol and name. And you should know H is hydrogen, Na sodium, Ag silver, C carbon, my favorite element along with hydrogen. Over here, Ar is argon, Kr krypton. And on the test, if I asked you, give the chemical symbol for argon, you should put A smaller, second letter is always smaller case, R, argon. If I asked, what's the name of the element with the chemical symbol Cl, you should know it's chlorine. Now, the periodic table you'll be given, you can download for test quiz number 1 is this one. This will also be in the download area of the assignment number for quiz 1. And this is the periodic table you should use. Listen carefully. Do not cheat, please. Dr. White is very clever. I am. I got 10 US patents and a lot of other things I've done in my life. I'm pretty sneaky and clever when it comes to certain things. And I put in my quizzes and tests that you do at home online, things that will catch people cheating. What do I mean by cheating? Talking to other students, getting help from other people, and also going on the internet or looking at the videos or your notes. You shouldn't do that. If I catch you, I will do what's in the syllabus. One of those, you get a 0 for that quiz, and that can't be a drop one. Also, I will inform the Dean of Students and my Dean, the Dean of Math and Science. And unfortunately, I've been teaching at not unfortunately, I've been teaching at COD since 2007. Wow, that's a long time already. And over the years, about 6 or 7 times, both face-to-face and online, unfortunately, I've caught students cheating. And if you see in the videos, and right now, I'm a very laid-back, easygoing person. 2 things get me mad very quickly: people who lie and students who cheat. Cheating, I just think, is a form of lying, so please don't. Now, this is a periodic table, and we'll come back to this in a little while. Notice it doesn't have the names of the elements, because you should know those. Notice here, this is an older one, there's 103. Good news, I'm not asking you to learn all of them, only the ones, the 30, I think it's 37. That was in the lectures, and here, right here. All right, next I started talking about the metric system. And the metric system has some key prefixes. And you should know kilo means 10 to the third. Like in kilogram, that means 1,000 grams. Milli is 10 to the minus third, 3. Like a milliliter, that's 1,000th of a liter. And centi, like in centimeter, that's 100th, 10 to the minus 2. So you should know kilo, 10 to the third, milli, 10 to the minus third, centi, 10 to the minus 2. If you have gigabytes in your computer, that's 10 to the 6. All right, next I talked about scientific notation. And scientific notation is how to take a very big number or small number and write it in a certain way. And you should know how to convert a number to scientific notation. If there's a decimal point in the decimal number or number is moved to the position to the right of the first number, non-zero number. The exponent for the exponential term is equal to the number of places the decimal point is moved. The exponent is positive if the number is greater than 10. The exponent is negative if the number is less than 1. Now, I never put on it, I don't use this, but if the number is between 1 and 10, the exponent is 0. You'll never see that on my quizzes or tests. So if I were to ask you to write the following number in scientific notation, how would you do that? Well, if there were a decimal, it would be here. I'm going to move it to the right of the first non-zero number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zeros at the end when there's no decimal like this are dropped. So this would be 1.75. It's greater than 10. So it's 10. How many times do we move it? 5, 10 to the fifth. And that's how you do it. And you should know how to do this. And if we look at the next number, if you had to write that in scientific notation, you move the decimal point to the right of the first non-zero number. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. All lead zeros are dropped. This number is less than 1. So it's 10 to the minus. How many times do we move it? 4. So it's 4.61 times 10 to the minus 4. Now, if you have a number less than 1, like this one was, but there's a 0 at the end, like this number, you do not drop those zeros. So if I move this 1, 2, 3, 3.1, but these zeros are after the number, not lead zeros, end zeros, so I have to keep them. I moved it 1, 2, 3 times. It's less than 0, 1, so it's minus 3. And you should know how to do that. Next, I talked about significant figures. And if I have a number, or if you have a number on a test, not only for the actual question, but for calculations, you'll be doing this all semester, you need first to determine how many significant figures a number has. And there are rules. All non-zero numbers are significant. Zeros may or may not be significant. Boy, that was helpful. But lead zeros at the beginning of the number are never significant. Confined zeros, those between non-zero numbers, are significant. Trailing zeros, those at the end of a number, are significant. This is important if a decimal point is present in the number. Trailing zeros, those at the end of a number, are not significant if the number lacks an explicitly shown decimal. And hopefully you've been practicing these, hopefully. And if I ask how many significant figures does that number have, by the way, hopefully you've noticed this is the way I write a 7. I picked that up from our German teacher in high school, and I thought it was cool, and I've been doing it ever since. By the way, Dr. White tries to be a real cool dude. All right, so all non-zero numbers are significant. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has 4 significant figures. And if we look at this number, how many significant figures? All non-zero numbers are significant. 1, 2. Is there a decimal point here? No. So trailing zeros are not significant. So this number would have 2 significant figures. And if we look at this number, how many significant figures? Well, if we look at that, we have 3 non-zero numbers, but we have a decimal point. And zeros at the end with a decimal point are significant. So 1, 2, 3 plus these two, 5 significant figures. And if we look at this molecule, again, in chemistry on the brain, this number, all non-zero numbers are significant. Zeros that are confined, well, these are significant. Between two non-zero are significant. So it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 significant figures. And you should know how to determine the number of significant figures in a number. Now, when you do math with significant figures, you have to round off. And I'll cover the math in a little while. Let's go through rounding off. If a first digit to be deleted is 4 or less, then you simply drop that and all that follow. If the first digit to be deleted is 5 or greater, you drop that digit, all follows are dropped, and the last retaining digit is increased by 1. Now, for this class, what this means is this type of number. And the question is, round this off. And say you have to round it off to 3 significant figures. And here I'll abbreviate, on test I won't. So how do you do that? Keep the first significant figure, keep the second, keep the third. Then the next one is the one we use to round off, because we've got our 1, 2, 3. Is this 4 or less or 5 or higher? And it's 5 or higher. So I'm going to drop this, this, but increase that by 1. And the correct answer here is 1.34. And that is how you round off. Let's do another one. And if I were to ask you to round this off to 4 significant figures, what do? Well, you keep the first significant figure 5, second 1, third would be 6, and the fourth would be 6. Those are my 4 significant figures. The number I use to round off is the 2. Is that 4 or less? And time's up. Hopefully all know 2 is 4 or less. So I'm going to drop that. And I don't change this because it was 4 or less. So the correct answer would be that. Now, when you do multiplication division, you should know that when you multiply and divide, the number of significant figures in the answer is the same as the number of significant figures in the measurement or whatever you're multiplying and dividing that contains the fewest significant figures. Know how to do this. Let's take a look at this. I were to ask, what's the problem? What's the answer for this? And don't forget, on quiz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, test 1 and 2, they'll all say under their name, please use proper significant figures for all calculated answers If you don't, I'll take off a point, or in this problem, it'll be totally wrong. Now, you should know how to use your scientific calculator. This is the one I recommend you buy because it's inexpensive and it works well. If I take 4.3 and divide it by 2.73, my calculator gives me this number. And if you wrote that down, I'm going to mark it wrong. What's the reason? Well, you have to consider significant figures. 4.3, two significant figures. 2.73, remember all non-zero numbers are significant. Three significant figures. This is the division. When you multiply and divide, you get the same number of significant figures in your answer as the number that has the fewest significant figures in your answer. So, which is smaller, 3 or 2? And time's up. Hopefully you've picked 2. So what do? We now have to round this off to 2 significant figures. Keep the first significant figure, keep the 5, and now we use the 7 to round off. Is that 4 or less or 5 or higher? And time's up. It's 5 or higher. So I'm going to drop all these numbers afterward and increase that by 1. And the correct answer using significant figures for that would be 1.6. And if you multiplied, you do the same thing. Whatever numbers you multiplied, the number with the fewest significant figures you multiply should be the same as the number in your answer. Now, when you use your calculator for scientific notation, don't forget, if I want to put down 1.25, oops, let me clear everything. 1.25, use the numbers here. Now I want to say times 10 to the third. Second key, and then the blue double E. And notice you'll see a little E up here. I said times 10 to the third. I'll press the third. And that's 1.25 times 10 to the third. Say I want to multiply it times 6. Or let's make it times 3.12 times 10 to the fifth. So to get 10 to the fifth, I put 3.12, second key, and mine is the blue double E above the x to the minus 1. And I said the fifth, so 10 to the fifth, and I'll do that. And now to get the answer, I'll hit equal. And if you notice right here, it has 3.9, then I don't know if you can see it, in small letters or numbers, there's a little times 10, and then right here, 0.8. So that'd be 3.9 times 10 to the 8th. And you should know how to do this. Now, important thing, when you have 10 to the minus number, say 4.25 times 10 to the minus third, blue, double E. Now we want a negative number. Do not use the minus sign for subtraction. Nope, nope, nope. You'll get a mess. Use this number on the keypad to make this minus. So I'm going to press that, and then I'll put 3. I don't know if you can see it, but it says minus E minus 3. And then if I multiply it times 2.22 times 10 to the minus 6. Again, for exponent, second key, double E. Then I want minus, again, this key for minus, not that. That's subtraction. This is for minus. I think I said 6. And now if I multiply it, I've got 9.435 times 10 to the, you'll see now here, a minus 0.9. Make sure you know how to use your calculator. Practice it. Now, right here, I have on addition and subtraction. On quiz 1, we won't have any addition and subtraction problems for the using significant figures. We'll wait until we get to it. I think that's test number 1 I'll have, and I'll teach you how to do that. Here's how to do that, but for now, you don't have to know that. Now, one last important thing you need to know, and that's from the periodic table, and that's how many electrons and protons does an element have? How do you do that? Well, you look at your periodic table. If I ask, how many electrons and protons does carbon have? Well, you have to know the chemical symbol for carbon is C. And the atomic number, the number in the upper right-hand corner, that tells you the number of electrons and protons. Again, the number in the upper right-hand corner tells you the number of electrons and protons. So for carbon, it's 6. Carbon has 6 protons and 6 electrons. For quiz 2, I'll teach you what electrons and protons are. And all you need to know are for the 37 elements. So if I were to ask, how many electrons and protons does iodine have? Ooh, what do I do? Iodine, chemical symbol I. Its atomic number is 53. And that tells you it has 53 electrons, 53 protons. Ooh, let's do one more. How many protons and electrons are in krypton? Remember, in our world, krypton is a clear gas at room temperature, not a green solid that kills Superman. That's another place, another universe. All right, krypton, chemical symbol Kr. Atomic number 36. It has 36 protons, 36 electrons. And there's one other thing I need to teach you. And that's the chemical formula and what that means. This is the chemical symbol or formula for table salt, also known as sodium chloride. And this tells me it has 1 sodium and 1 chlorine. So there are 2 atoms in sodium chloride. Now, if you've noticed throughout the evening, I've been drinking water out of my water bottle, but none of you think about this, but the substance inside this bottle is a chemical. You don't think of it, but water is a chemical. And water has the chemical formula H2O. And what this means is the subscript 2 to the right of the chemical symbol, there are 2 hydrogens. When there's no number, that means 1 and 1 oxygen. So 2 plus 1, 3 atoms. And this is a chemical formula for sodium bicarbonate found in baking powder. And I'll teach you something cool later in the semester, what you can do with baking powder besides cook with it. But how many atoms are in sodium bicarbonate? And I'm going to let you have some fun. You try first, and I'll do it. All right, my turn. You have one sodium, one hydrogen, one carbon, and this 3 tells you you have 3 oxygen. And 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3, if I did my math correctly, is 6 atoms in sodium bicarbonate. Now, there's something called parens we use in chemistry. And here's an example. That's magnesium hydroxide. And what that tells you is everything inside the bracket, parens, is multiplied by the number subscript to the outs on the outside. So how many atoms in magnesium? Hydroxide, 1 magnesium. Now the oxygen is 1 times 2 plus 2. The hydrogen is 1 times 2 is 2, and that's equal to 5. Now, if we had calcium in what's called bicarbonate, and here, how many atoms are in there? I'll let you try it, then I'll give you the answer. And when you're done, give me a thumbs up with the emoji, or turn on your video camera and give me a thumbs up like this. How many atoms are in calcium bicarbonate? Ca bracket H. Thank you, Zoom user, who doesn't want to put her name down. And we'll wait for all right, my turn. There's 1 calcium, but in the bracket here, there's 1 hydrogen, but it's times 2, so there are 2 hydrogen. There's 1 carbon, but it's times 2, 2 carbon. Ooh, inside 3 oxygen, but times the 2, 6. So 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6, 5 plus 6. I did my math correctly, and hopefully I did. That's 11. And you should be able to look at a chemical formula like this and tell me how many atoms are in that formula. And that's all the material for quiz number 1. Now remember, I will send out a password Thursday morning for quiz 1. You have until Friday, 8 p.m. to take it whenever during that time period you're able to. If you're working Thursday morning, don't worry about it. You got all Thursday and most of Friday to take it. And take as much time as you need, but do not cheat, because I put things in my quizzes and tests. I've been teaching online now for 4 years. I've gotten really good at, unfortunately, I've caught some students cheating. You should not look on the internet. That's cheating, and I'll know if you do. You shouldn't talk to other people or other students for help. You should not look at your notes or the book if you bought the book. And if you've done my practice problems, you'll do fine. And with that, I'm done. I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes. Oh, one final thing, and I'll put out an announcement to this. Tomorrow is June 19th. which is a federal holiday, which means COD is closed. Technically, I should not have my office hours, but since I'm having a quiz on Thursday, tomorrow evening I'll have my office hours from 6:30 to 7:30. If you need help, come on by. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to stick around for a couple minutes if anybody has any questions. With that, I'll say gang gesund. Don't forget dual labs and upload your labs. Remember, you have to get 65% of the points in the labs to get at least a C. Otherwise, I can't give it to you. That's departmental rules. Hand in your labs. With that, I'll say gang gesund. Goodbye now. Stole that from Granny and the Beverly Hillbillies. Great TV show. Remember, gang gesund means go in health in Yiddish. So gang gesund. Bye now.